use a smart device application that will connect to Nintendo Switch. Then, it will become a paid service beginning in the fall of 2017.
I almost forgot something very important. Splatoon 2 is planned for launch this summer.
What did you think? As you just saw, we are preparing to offer a rich assortment of games, both from Nintendo and a number of third-party partners.
Okay, fine. I read the comments, guys. I get it. You're all excited and you want to know what I think about the Nintendo Switch. I've been sitting on my opinion for a while because my opinion is not black or white. It's complicated. It's important to realize that we also don't know that much about the fine details of the Switch, and since we're so close to release, new details are going to be emerging on a constant basis. That means if my opinion is based on something that turns out to be different when the Switch actually launches, my opinion will change. Everything I'm going to say about the Switch is therefore based on everything I know about the Switch right now. The whole idea of the Switch is a big departure from the consoles we've seen from Nintendo so far. Well, maybe not that big. At first glance, it looks like a touchscreen controller from the Wii U. Some people ended up simply playing their games on that instead of the TV, and for most titles, the second screen functionality was not essential. So if you want to be a little cynical, you could basically say that they've just moved the guts to the controller and called it a day. Alternately, you can say that they just made a gaming tablet and put Nintendo software on it. And see, that's the biggest problem with the Switch. What it's actually supposed to be is hard to figure out, because it's different from the competition in so many ways, as Nintendo just loves being vague as shit about their precious console. I guess being confused about what a Nintendo console is supposed to be is actually pretty normal. The more that I just took some time out to just really think about it, the more the Switch started to make sense to me. I think there's actually a lot of sharp thinking that went into the design of this console, and let me explain that line of thinking behind this overall impression. I can already feel the flames of a new fanboy war heating up as we speak. People are already ripping on the technical specifications of the Switch and how it doesn't compare to the PS4 or Xbox One in terms of horsepower. Honestly, ignoring the teraflop race is probably the single smartest thing that Nintendo has done with the Switch. Trying to compete with Sony and Microsoft this late in the game when it comes to raw power is suicide at this point. Nintendo knows that this is a game that they should not even be playing. Besides, the $300 price points means that they aren't selling this console at a loss, so at least they break even on each console before you actually buy any games. We don't know all that much about the specific hardware in the Switch at this moment, but there are some solid rumors we can talk about. Specifically, a few credible sites like Ars Technica, sorry if I butchered the name, think that the GPU is a Tegra X1, which is an older high-end mobile chip found in the Pixel C and the non-handheld Nvidia Shield. As far as I can tell, the X1 is a 512 gigaflop Maxwell chip, so that's about a quarter of what the original PS4 is packing and an eighth of the PS4 Pro. On the other hand, that's about 10 times more powerful than the Vita GPU and 100 times faster than the new 3DS. So really, it depends on how you look at it. Mario Kart 8 will run at 1080p and 60 FPS with 1 or 2 players on the same system. When you go mobile, the processor's underclocked, but the native resolution of the screen is 720p, so it seems to even out. You can make just about any game run at 60 FPS at a decent resolution if you scale it down enough, and people who like Mario Kart in general are not playing it for its cutting-edge graphics. The point I'm trying to make here is that what the GPU specs mean is relative to what you want the console to do. It's the same argument I've been making about the PS4 for months. Dial down the eye candy and make the games more playable. It seems that this is a trade-off that Nintendo understands with the Switch, but time will tell if third-party developers do too. You can either see this as the weakest home console on the market or the most powerful mobile console ever made. It's all a matter of perspective. The other brilliant idea is the mobile LAN party thing that the Switch has going on. Sure, the 3DS has local multiplayer too, but the Switch is in a different league in terms of screen size, resolution, and the types of games it can play. It's also hilarious to me that Nintendo has designed the Switch to support local split-screen multiplayer with the left and right Joy-Cons, when the PS4 and Xbox One are almost completely dry when it comes to couch co-op games. The local multiplayer options that the Switch has are possibly the most exciting thing about the whole deal. But if you're like most gamers who right now play online, Nintendo has joined Sony and Microsoft, now requiring you to pay to play online. The only thing I haven't seen yet is something like the 3DS download play function, where everyone can share one copy of a game. I really hope some games that Nintendo makes do have this, because not all your friends will shell out to play with you. Please, for the love of God, Nintendo, this is a good way to get people to buy a game. They can try it with a friend and then buy it for themselves too. Do it if you haven't done it already, just like you've done with many of your 3DS titles. Because your current plans of pushing your online service, which will now cost money, is absolutely asinine. For as long as I can remember, Nintendo has never provided a quality online experience. Their home field is local multiplayer, and unfortunately, due to technology, that has just become more and more of a relic of the past. So to keep up with the Joneses, you have online multiplayer as a paid service. Just incredible. And I've seen some try to argue that by doing this, that means Nintendo will automatically improve its service from its current abysmal servers that it has with the Wii U. My automatic response to that is, how? How does any person know that? The answer is no one does, and anyone who tries to tell you this is making an assumption, and a very dangerous one at that. We as consumers need to be smarter than this, guys. It's 2017. You don't pay a company in the hopes that they'll get better. You wait and make them prove themselves before giving them your money. Do you buy a brand new car with the hopes that it will drive, or should it do that automatically with the quality expected of your hard-earned money? Moving on, fanatically hardcore gamers might want to stick their fingers in their ears right now, but mobile gaming has gotten damn good over the last few years. Please don't kill me. I know that was as hard for you to hear as it was for me to say. If you have a decent tablet or phone, you can play some pretty advanced games. In terms of graphics, games like Infinity Blade 3, Real Racing 3, and many more match previous generation consoles in terms of visuals. Modern high-end tablets have some more grunt than the PS3 or Xbox 360 did, and they can do more on a per grunt basis. There's also some great ports of games from consoles and PCs. The mobile version of KOTOR is actually the best version of the game to play in my opinion. You can really play it comfortably with just one finger. There's a great port of XCOM Enemy Within on mobile too. Dragon Quest VIII? Check. Most Telltale games? Check. Final Fantasy games? Check. The list goes on. The problem with tablets and phones is not so much the lack of raw power, but the hit and miss nature of touch controls. If a game is designed from the ground up for touch or competently converted, then the experience is great. The rest of the time, we're stuck with terrible virtual gamepad implementations. Using Bluetooth gamepads with a tablet is actually pretty awesome, but you need somewhere to put the thing down since there's no good way to attach a big tablet to a controller. The slick attachment system for the Switch's Joy-Cons seemed to solve this issue. I really like how modular it is too. You can put it down and only hold the controls or have it on the sides. I actually think that if I was going to get a Switch, I'd end up putting the Joy-Cons on the grip frames and turn it into a traditional gamepad. I'd just keep it split and sort of spread my arms out on the couch. It just seems like it might be super comfortable. People of course have been bitching about the battery life too, which is apparently around 3 hours for the intensive titles, with it improving the simpler the game is. Apart from the fact that 3 hours is only really an issue if you forget to charge the thing, the Switch uses a standard USB-C port to charge, which is also what makes screencasting possible, by the way. Most people have already power banks lying around, but even if you don't, you can buy them for pocket change almost. And when you see people playing mobile games nowadays, there's usually a charging cable trailing to their bag for that very reason. The point is that there is an easy fix if you think the battery life is too short. I also hear moans about the 32 gigabytes of storage. Yeah, that's not a lot of space. Half of it would be taken up by a digital download of the brand new Zelda game as well. But Nintendo has put a micro SD slot in the Switch, and those cards are for the most part dirt cheap, so you can just put a 64 gigabyte card in it and call it a day. In any case, it remains to be seen if you actually want to use the Switch's eShop instead of just buying cartridges. Nintendo just does not have the best track record when it comes to digital distribution. But while I list these two possible solutions for issues that Nintendo should have just solved on its own from a hardware perspective, my biggest issue is the actual fact of them cutting corners. These solutions for battery life and storage are only third-party fixes to problems Nintendo should have just solved with the Switch itself. It's unacceptable to deceive potential customers into believing that they have to pay $300 for a device without truly knowing all the caveats and issues that they'll run into after using your system for only 6 months. The Switch is not a $300 smooth gaming experience. The more you add up the additional accessories, it starts to look more and more expensive when compared to its direct competition. And that is a problem. Even if I try to look past all of that, the biggest thing that is bugging me about the Switch is not the hardware itself, but the launch game lineup. As I wrote this, there are only 5 That's right, 5 confirmed games at launch. Only one of those is a big Nintendo franchise, and the remaining third-party games are not system sellers. When people beat Breath of the Wild in the first week, there's nothing else to do until April. A lot of the games are also ports of games that have come out on other consoles, and most people have played who wanted to. And I know I've seen so many people try to show me this image and tell me that there's going to be tons of games coming to the Switch, but please do not let that splash screen of third-party games try to trick you. If I can recall, the Wii U had a very similar listing of, quote, third-party support, and we saw exactly how that went 1 year after the Wii U's release. Oh, so we have Skyrim on the Switch? Come on, guys, you seriously think this is a good sign of quality third-party support? Where's Fallout 4, Bethesda's more recent game? Where's all the big games everyone's looking forward to this year? Mass Effect Andromeda, Resident Evil 7, For Honor, Hitman, Deus Ex, Ghost Recon, Styx, Yooka-Laylee, Doom, fucking hell, even Call of Duty released their games on the Wii, and even on the 3DS. And I'm not listing these games to be petty, but to make really important points. How fucking awesome would it be to play Ghost Recon or For Honor right there next to your friend, or Mass Effect Andromeda's co-op multiplayer, using motion controls for hacking in Deus Ex? Hell, I think RE7 would be pretty damn scary to play on the Switch with motion controls. And you know what? I'm gonna get this man. Even Randy Pitchford is already scoffing about how Borderlands 3 might not even be coming to the Switch. But how about for 1 second, he takes his head out of his ass and thinks that perhaps his flop of a game Battleborn would be perhaps, I don't know, a perfect match for the Nintendo Switch. Now I know what you're gonna say. Let's say even with the initial time devs had with the Switch, there's no way that they could get a port ready by March, and I agree, but at least having the balls to stand up there with Nintendo and say, we are really excited for this console, and as proof of our support, we plan on bringing out a cool edition of the hottest games that came out last year and this year to this console late 2017 or 2018. Putting your company's logo on a presentation is a very poor way of saying you support the Switch. Just being there and saying we have a plan to bring these specific games to the Switch would mean a lot to consumers and hold them to their word instead of EA giving the Switch third-party support in the form of FIFA, as if Battlefield 1 and Titanfall 2 don't exist. Hell, give them Garden Warfare 2, damn it! That feels like a perfect game to market towards Switch owners. Even still, this is just one man's pipe dream who just really wants Nintendo to succeed. So I doubt many of the games I listed would even take advantage of local multiplayer with multiple Switches. But I just still feel that the console's greatest strength is going to be local multiplayer, and someone has to make that killer game with that feature to sell it. Seriously, just think about it for a second. Where's Rocket League? Could you imagine 4v4s or 2v2 Rocket League in the same room with your buddies? I'm also hoping that, let's say, Project Cars, which had to ditch the Wii U due to a lack of power, can make it to the Switch somehow. A more serious racing game could be a blast with local multiplayer. And while I'm at it, I might as well wish for a good Overwatch clone, or hell, maybe even port Overwatch to the Switch. That would be a game changer. The Intel HD Graphics 4400 chip is on the minimum requirements for that game, and the X1 is at least twice that power, so it is feasible to get Overwatch to run on the console. Just the idea of hanging out with friends and playing a team shooter seems like it would just be so much fun. So as you can see, I'm having pretty positive vibes about the Switch as a hardware platform, but I'm getting a bad case of deja Vita from it. The Vita was a technically impressive mobile console with physical controls far superior to that of a smartphone. Hell, I own one and I loved playing on it. Yet it had very few first-party games and most of its library are just ports of games from other consoles. Now, when it comes to the Vita, I've always felt that although a game may not be exclusive to it, it may be exclusively mobile on the Vita. Yeah, I can play Metal Gear 2 and 3 on my PS3 or PS2, but I can't do it on a plane or on a bus. So that's a bit of a weird argument. Nonetheless, the Vita was beaten out by the 3DS largely because the game selection was more appealing. And based on what I've seen so far of the Switch, there's no killer game that will keep the Switch from gathering dust like the Wii U's of the world. And let's just be reasonable for 1 second. Zelda will hold gamers' attention for a month at most. So someone out there working for Nintendo needs to get cracking on one already. I've already given a plethora of recommendations. A legit Metroid multiplayer game perhaps, with local split screen perhaps. Hell, I don't know, maybe that Pokemon MOBA I brought up a couple months ago would be perfect for this system. I'm tentatively positive about the Nintendo Switch. It's sort of fresh and an interesting take on a new generation of console from Nintendo. and it looks like it could lead a lot of fun with the right game slammed into the slot. However, it's not clear what that game is, so be careful. And for the love of everything holy, do not pre-order the Switch. You do not need it day one, and if it's because of Zelda, you can play it on the Wii U. Let other people take the risk, and wait for reviews and more game announcements before you pull the trigger. And that is how I feel about the Nintendo Switch.